This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Laserdisc. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And guys, the plutonium is running low. My time machine is just about out of gas, so I can only hang around the 80s.
Out of gas or out of plutonium?
How about I write the intros and you do the guesting?
Yeah.
Plutonium gas, and we are not able to stay in the 80s much longer. You really threw me off kilter.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Do you want to start again?
Nah, it's all good. People love the candor of this show. They're not going in for, well-rehearsed dialogue
Yeah.
and a show without ums and ahs, which I'm sure I do a million times. Long story short, we're almost done with the 80s.
Yep.
Got 2 episodes to go, and if people have been listening in the past, they'll recognise that voice almost immediately. That brash interrupting of a well-timed intro. Please welcome back to the show, the second last guest for the 80s. For now, we might get some more down the line. My wife, Tina.
Hello.
Hey, how you going?
That's good. I actually haven't told you about my day today.
No, I know we were having.
But I'm not going to.
Why don't you share with the listeners? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
Somehow you've been the most elusive guest this round, even though we live together.
I've been really busy with Zoe's birthday.
Yeah, we had a lot going.
Yeah.
I'm being silly. I know because I've missed a few episodes myself just because of everything going on.
Yeah.
It has been pretty hectic, but good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
To talk some 80s movies today. We were literally just talking before, and I was like, "You confident with your list?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, but I don't know if I've seen enough 80s films." And my theory, which is proving to be more and more true each time, is that you don't like 80s films.
See, I always think that I do like 80s films, and then I sit down and watch it. I go, I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know you don't like John.
There's some that I really do like.
We know you don't like John Hughes films.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'm
you
not
were
a
like-
huge John Hughes.
Because you're like, "Oh, we should watch
fan.
Ferris Bueller." I was like, "We should watch Ferris Bueller," and you're like, "I hated that."
Yeah.
And you're like, "We should watch Weird Science." I'm like, "We should watch Weird Science." You're like, "I hated that."
Yeah.
But that being said, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself in case they do show up on your list, but there are some exceptions. Like RoboCop, you surprisingly were like, "This is great."
Yeah.
Die Hard, you liked.
Yeah.
There's a very obvious one which I'm going to leave in case it shows up again.
Well, I really like action 80s films, I think. I think that's what it is. I think I really like the action 80s films / the action comedy type ones. I think they're the 80s films that I associate with the 80s the most.
That's a good point. I guess that it's interesting because I always think of, even though my list wasn't this at all, I always think of like those teen movies as definitive 80s films. I'm like, it's all about teens at the
see,
mall.
I don't.
But they're not even in my with the exception of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. There are no real teen films in my top 5 80s. Mine were all actions and horrors.
See,
and stuff
I
like
always associate action movies like Predator and
that. Good film.
like Die Hard and Top Gun and all that sort of stuff. That's what I associate with the 80s. Because I haven't seen Dirty Dancing.
Me
I
either.
haven't seen Flashdance. I haven't seen a lot of like the female side of 80s movies. I've seen more of the male side of 80s movies, if that makes sense.
Dirty Dancing has come up a lot in this round. I've had it come up 3 or 4
I can't
times.
mention it because I haven't seen it.
That one's come up a lot, and the real, I don't know why I was surprised by, but Beetlejuice has come up like about 4 or 5
and I haven't
times.
seen that either.
Me either, but we're about to own it. I ordered it recently because I was like, people keep telling me it's good. It's like $5. I'll buy it so I can finally knock it off the list. Well, I'm really interested to see your list because I feel like the movies that you're into, we're still a decade or 2 away from. I feel like you got some 90s stuff, but I feel like most of your...
Yeah, I was looking through and I was thinking of ones and then I'd check the year and it was 90s. And I was like, okay.
Well, I just feel like when we get to the 90s, it's just going to be 5 Keanu Reeves films for you.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just going to be like Speed, Point Break, The Matrix.
Point Break I've actually only seen once.
I know, but I still feel it's going to show up there just because it's got Keanu Reeves in it. That's what I mean. But mind you, and I've said this before, I think everyone's 90s list should have The Matrix in it because it's pretty much the best film from that decade.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, before we get stuck into the list, as you know, we do a little bit of a preamble, and you've shared some of your feelings about this when you interviewed me. But what do the 80s mean to you? What kind of significance do they hold for you, being that you really only experienced a year and a bit of the 80s?
I feel like the 80s was really a time of living beyond your means.
I feel like that's my life as well.
Like, I think that's where consumerism really started.
Yeah, definitely.
The whole idea of, like, disposable stuff, disposable income to spend on, like, stuff you don't need.
Frivolous
a lot of
tat.
Frivolous, yeah, a lot of opulent sort of stuff. So I think that really was the mindset of people as well. And so I think that's when you then getting into, like, I think that's really paved the mentality for people today with, like, just sort of buying stuff and not realizing that maybe they don't need it, or maybe they don't, like, think about the sustainability of things like that, because that certainly wasn't a word that was thrown around in the 80s or anything. So I know it sounds grim, but that's kind of always what I think of when I think of I always think of, like, those businessmen on Wall Street who are like, I don't have time for this. My stocks are down. And then you've got, like...
Why do they have a southern drawl?
That wasn't a southern drawl.
I'm a southern Wall Street guy.
Wall Street guy. Hey, it's New York. I gotta talk like a New York. And then, like, the teens are always at the mall and they're, like, shopping because... You really have the emergence of teens. Like, I mean, teens were around, obviously, in the 50s is when the whole idea of the teenager started, and in the 60s, that's when they're really rebelling against, and in the 70s, they're getting more freedoms. But by the time it gets to the 80s, that's when we really establish what it means to be a teenager, and it's like, you're at the mall with your friends, and... There's, like, all these social problems about fitting in, and that's where the John Hughes sort of stuff comes through. And so I really feel like it's all about spending money to look cool, and that's when that notion really started, I think.
I also feel like, and I don't know why, and I didn't mention this when I last talked about the 80s, and I guess it's because the thought hadn't occurred to me until now. For some reason, I think of the 80s as a very dangerous time. But even though it wasn't. But, like, when I think about media, I always think about, like, teens at risk from, like, the war of drugs or, like, peer pressure and alcohol or, like...
I don't think that at all. See, I think I associate that more with the 90s, actually. I associate 90s to be more of a dangerous time for teens.
Our teens are always at risk. Like, that's just the nature of the world.
I think the 80s was more like, if I think of the 80s, I'm thinking of Robin Sparkles. Like, let's go to the mall. Like, the worst thing that the teens are doing are, like, maybe shoplifting to be cool.
What about, like, actually, they're all good kids. I say, what about, like, the Stranger Things kids? So there are some nasty characters in there, not just from the upside down, but, like, just some nasty teens there as well.
I'm just remembering a memory that I had when I was growing up in the 90s. And I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when it was fashionable to wear those lolly dummy necklaces? So there were dummies that were candy, and people would wear them around their necks.
It wasn't a big thing around my school, but I do remember them.
Do you know what that is? Because my brother and sister told me. They would wear that, like at clubs and stuff. Not kids. Kids would wear it because it's a lolly, right? But, like, in clubs, because that's where it came from.
Is it like a drug thing? Or?
Yeah. It's like, because you would take ecstasy, it stops you grinding your teeth together. So you'd suck on this dummy, lolly dummy, and it stops you from grinding your teeth together. And I never forgot that. just always, that is stuck with me and haunted me. And so that's why I think maybe that's why I associate because the 90s is grunge. The 90s is like, ecstasy and clubbing, real club music. The 80s is all like, let's go to the ski lodge and have, like, wear leg warmers and drink Swiss Miss and all that sort of stuff.
I think of, like, Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, like, I was at The Warriors. I think The Warriors is a 70s film. But Freddy Krueger, he was pretty dangerous from the 80s. He had knives for hands.
Oh, I'm not talking about movies. I'm talking about the vibe that I get.
Yeah, no, I was sort of saying, like, dangerous, like, within the context of movies and stuff.
Okay.
But no, you're right. Like, yeah, it was very much that excess and stuff. I also think of, like, I don't know why, and I can't tell you where I see this, but I just think of, like, 3 fluorescent stripes, like yellow, pink, and blue, like, graffitied on the side of a car. Or
and
on the
you got
side
that,
of a
like,
jet
sort of
ski.
like that zigzag
Yeah,
design.
that's exactly what I'm thinking
sort
of.
thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like Rugrats or something.
Extreme, yeah. Also, the word extreme.
Yeah.
In the edit as well.
Spelt with an X.
Cool. So, yeah, and we did talk about this a little bit when you were interviewing me as well. And now, obviously, you said we were trying to talk about your interest in 80s films. You're like, I kind of do, but I'm not sure. Like, when do you start watching 80s films? Like, was that, did your parents have, like, films they liked that were from the 80s? Like, I know your dad didn't. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, I know your dad did. But, like, was your mum like, hey, like, I watched this when I was, in my 20s or whatever?
No.
Or...
So we my exposure to any 80s films was purely from television. So we never really went to Blockbuster or anything like that. We only had, like, a very small collection of VHS tapes. So it was only ever whatever movie was on TV. So a lot of the movies that are on my list, either I watched on TV growing up or I was exposed to them a different way when I was a bit older. But yeah, it was always like I'd watch a little bit of a movie. I'd watch like 3/4, maybe like 90% of a film that was on TV, and then it was like, all right, Tina, it's time for you to go to bed.
Yeah,
and then it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, that was an 80s film.
Yeah, sure.
Most of the time you could sort of guess, but also because I was growing up in the 90s, those films weren't very old at that point in time. So that's why they were playing on TV. Because, like, you would kind of go, oh, it's I don't want to mention it because it's on the list. But you go, oh, it's that movie again.
Yeah.
And so you'd watch it again because it had only been, like, a decade, if that,
sure.
since it had been released.
Yeah, okay. Because, I know that my dad, like, my exposure to 80s films comes pretty much through my dad. Like, all those 80s comedies and stuff that were suitable or close enough to suitable for kids.
Yeah.
That's where I learned that. But you're right, there was definitely a huge volume of 80s films on TV as well when we were growing up. Great, well, we should get stuck into it.
Yeah.
Now, you, unlike most people this round, have actually gone to the effort to try and rank from 5 to 1. And that's not me having to go. I couldn't even figure out my rankings. So, but most people just been like, here are 5 that I like. And you've actually gone the extra steps. So, yeah, let's, whenever you're ready, we'll start with number 5. I'm hoping I've seen them all. But I've not had much success this round with seeing the films listed, so we'll see how we go.
Sorry, I'm just adding another one to my honourable mention. All right, so my number 5 one is actually one that I first saw, like, 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I definitely didn't see this growing up. And I was only, really recently, like, introduced to it. And it's Stand By Me.
Ah, great film.
Yeah, I know, right? So good.
I quote this film constantly.
True!
Yeah. And when I say quote, I only quote that one line.
I only quote that one line. So I actually had to watch this film because that was the film that we were studying for English, and I was teaching English that year to my year 8s. And the curriculum required us to teach, like, 2 texts. And so I had one text down. I can't remember what it was. It was a book. And then one of the other English teachers, he was like, you should do Stand By Me because it's really good. It's like, oh, I've never seen it, and I've never done a movie as a text before, so I'll give it a go. And so I watched it, and it's great. It is so good, as you know, because you've seen it. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, are the year 8s gonna like this or not? Because when you choose a text, you have to choose something that's gonna be engaging for them. I was like, oh, we'll give it a go, because you got to watch the movie twice as well.
I feel like the story about the eating contest is enough to get the kids.
Yeah, that's right. And so I was like, you know what, we'll give it a go. And so we watched the movie, and the kids watched it the first time. The first time's always just for enjoyment, and the second time is the analytical version of watching it. And they watched it, and we got to the end of it, and they were like, that was so good. I was like, well, we get to watch it again. They're like, we get to watch it again. I was like, yeah. And so then, a couple of lessons later, we did the analysis watching of it, and they just really loved it. And even right at the end, when they're doing the credits and the Stand By Me song's playing, they were like, can we play we love this song, can we play the whole credits? And we played the whole credits, and we just listened to that song. It's a beautiful song.
They probably liked as well. Isn't there like quite a bit of swearing in it? So they'll probably...
Yeah. There's a bit of swearing.
So they're like, oh, yeah, we just swear in the show.
Yeah.
It's a solid flick, like directed by Rob Reiner, who also did, I want to say he did Princess Bride, but I could be wrong. And after Stand By Me was made, Stephen King was like, oh, you are perfect to do Misery next. Because
he understood.
You get what I've been trying to do. Yeah.
And just like the acting from the boys in it is so brilliant. Like that's the thing. Okay, so it's been about 7 years since I've seen it, so I don't remember certain bits and pieces, but I just remember when I can't remember their names, but the one with the glasses gets really angry. He's on the train tracks.
It'd be Corey Feldman probably.
And he's yelling about his dad and all this kind of stuff like that on the train tracks. And then River Phoenix is like, hey, it's all right. We're here for you. And they're all just the way that the boys support each other and everything. And it's just a brilliant film. And the acting, again, is just phenomenal. And the story's just interesting and engaging. And the problem that I had with some Stephen King stuff is that they spend too much time. He spends too much time in the young, because he always does that thing where he's like, here is the present day and here is the issue that's happening in present day. But I'm going to do 7 chapters on when these guys were kids. And you're just like, oh, I want to do the present day story. That's the cool thing about the car being evil, or that's the cool thing about the clown in the drains. I know I haven't read either Misery or It, so I don't know if they do that. He does that past.
Yeah, Misery, and also Misery isn't the car one.
Well, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's what's its name?
Christine. Which is actually interesting because Misery and Christine don't have any of that stuff in it.
But he does that.
Yeah.
He spends a long time, he deviates away from the story, and he spends a long time on the childhood thing. And this Stand By Me, the whole movie is the deviation away from the story. But the way that it's that's the thing, because the deviation of it is the majority of the story, it becomes the story. And so it's just really good to see that. And it's really sad how at the end, I think it was the boy had died.
One of the boys had died.
Yeah, I think it was River Phoenix's character.
And the rest of them didn't see each other anymore.
They didn't see each other. They didn't talk to each other anymore. And it's just kind of like this. You had this beautiful season of your life where you have these friends, and then you don't have those friends anymore.
That's very true of a lot of the stuff that Stephen King does. A lot of his books and movies, the kids grow apart. In It, they grow apart and they forget all the events of their childhood because they're no longer together. Being apart, erases their memory and stuff. He does that sort of thing a lot. But yeah, it's solid. When I think, we were talking about Stranger Things before briefly. Stand By Me feels like those relationships almost feel like they've influenced.
Yes.
Stranger Things.
It's
that's
absolutely.
what they've gone to. That's that kind of tight knit, kids getting up to no good, but not really no good, just like kind of
being kids at the same time.
Yeah, but just getting up to mischief and stuff. Yeah, it's wonderful, and the performances are great. Like Corey Feldman, like maybe there's a question we talk about later in the rapid fire about well, I won't go into it just now, even though you know it because you asked me. But like Corey Feldman's definitely one of those faces of the '80s. He was in everything. Like I'm pretty sure he's in Goonies. He's in like one of the Friday the 13th movies. He was in The Lost Boys. Like he's in so.
See, that's the thing. You say he's in everything, and I'm like, I don't recognize him from anything. And all three things that you just mentioned, I haven't seen.
You've seen one of the things I just mentioned, Friday the 13th. You have Friday the 13th.
Oh, Friday 13th. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were saying Nightmare Before. No, I'm straight.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. But also you should definitely see Lost Boys. That's great. And Misery, even though he's not in
And
that.
Lost Boys has Kiefer Sutherland in it as well. And
reunite.
Stand By Me has Kiefer Sutherland in it.
Young
They're gonna tell you what they're gonna do. They're gonna wait. What's the quote? He goes, they're gonna go out for a piss and be pissing on his bones. There's a quote from the movie where it's like killing the kids or something like that. I can't get it right. I would have executed it correctly if I'd remembered the quote.
It was a B plus.
It was definitely lower than that.
It wasn't, but I was being generous.
Yeah.
That is a solid flick, and one that no one has mentioned yet.
There you go.
But great movie.
Right,
If that's your number 5,
yeah.
we're in for a hell of a ride.
Yeah, we sure are. Alright, so my number 4 is Indiana Jones.
Now, which one?
Now, this is the thing. Because I've only seen all of the Indiana Jones films maybe twice. Or at least What's the one where he's like, why did it have to be snakes? Is that the first one?
Well, all of them, technically.
But the one where he lands in the pit.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Which is the first one?
Yes.
Yes, so that's the one.
And it's just called Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one that's going to be on my list. Because it's not the No Time for Love, Dr. Jones. It's not that one.
It's a bold decision.
What, to do the accent?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry if that's come across as racist. Or this with the screaming girl all the time.
Yeah, Raiders. Which is...
So I'm going to go with Raiders, because Raiders is also the one with the boulder and everything, and Raiders is the one with the
Nazis.
Ark of the Covenant and the Nazis and everything. And that's the one that I've seen the most.
It's the one where, and I've said this every time it's come up, if Indiana Jones wasn't in the film, the plot wouldn't change.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think Indiana Jones. Oh, sorry. I think the whole Indiana Jones franchise really encapsulates the adventure genre from the 80s really, really, really well. Like, it's got everything that you want in it. It's got romance, it's got action and adventure, it's got some comedy in it. It's all, like, it's just an all-rounder, really. And he does, like, tension really well. And that's what I really want from those kind of action movies. Like, that's why I don't really like things like Predator, for example, or Alien. They're too slow-paced. They're too... Oh, it takes forever. Like, sometimes you just want a character running away from a boulder, skidding under things, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like, near misses.
Yeah.
Not just standing in the dark, waiting for, like, the creature to make a noise.
Well, I guess they're two different kinds of films, though.
Yeah. But, yeah, and I always want to watch it a lot more than you will allow me. You're always like, what do you want to watch? And I'm like, let's watch Indiana Jones. And you're like, nah.
I think only because it's not, well, first of all, it's not, I'm not allowing you to watch it. You can watch it.
Yeah, because then you're like, I don't want to. And then we will have to watch something else instead.
But it's a film that I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
Like, just because you didn't have the joy of seeing it as a kid, like, that's not my fault. Like, I saw it a lot as a kid. And I've watched it a few times with you as well. I do love the film, but it's just one of those ones where it's the same reason why I don't watch Blues Brothers every year. It was just on heavy rotation as a kid.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from the flick. Like, it's great. But I'm also, like, often in the mindset of, like, I want to consume new things. I want to see things I haven't seen before. So that's why I very rarely go back and rewatch. Ironically, I did rewatch all of the Marvel films this year.
Sure.
But I had to for Doctor Strange.
Oh.
Well,
See, I think the problem that I have is that I forget
Mm.
very easily. So I forget movies very easily. I forget when things happened. And so watching it again is like seeing an old friend. You go, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, this is the good bit. I remember now what happens, sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, I like watching new stuff as well. But sometimes you just want to veg out and not have to really focus on something. And I think Indiana Jones is a really good movie to do that, but still be entertained. And basically, I want to watch Indiana Jones. Can we watch Indiana Jones?
Sure.
No, is what you would say. All right, so my number 3.
I was going to say, there is a new Indiana Jones in development, so when that one comes out, we can rewatch them all.
Okay, there you go.
You haven't seen the 4th one. You've never seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, I haven't. That's the one with Shia LaBeouf in it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have only seen it once, and I'm just of the opinion that it's nowhere near as terrible as people make it out. Like, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I could be wrong. But even when I saw it, I was like...
I remember I wanted to see it, and you were like, no, it's not very good. And so we didn't watch it.
Yeah, but remember how I was a teenage film snob? Like, now I'm being a lot more forgiving of movies.
Yeah, but now I haven't been able to enjoy things because you are like, I don't want to watch that.
I love how in a house, and this is not the conversation for, but in a situation where we've always had more than one DVD player in a house, you're like, you don't let me watch.
But you're like, I want to watch movies together.
Yeah, that was before we had a kid.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I'm just like, I just want. I'll watch. Let me watch anything.
Movies. Yeah, that's right.
So.
All right, so number 3. I know I didn't have much to talk about with that, but I do with this one.
Okay.
Okay, so I specifically remember when I was first exposed to this series.
Mm-hmm.
I was over at my friend Eliza's house. We were in year 7.
Mm-hmm.
And she had the first one on VHS. And so she was playing it. And we had like a couple of other friends and stuff like that over. And it was playing on like an old TV. It was an old VHS tape that had been taped off the TV. And so it was like really, really bad quality and all this kind of stuff like that. And people were talking. And so it wasn't like, a cinematic experience or anything like that. And I was like, everybody needs to shut up so we can watch this. This is amazing. I'd never seen anything like it before. I was like, this is so cool. And from that point on, I'd just like been obsessed. And it was Star Wars, A New Hope. Now, Star Wars, A New Hope is not an 80s movie.
Glad you said that. I was like, but I know where you're going now, yeah.
And so I was like, this is amazing. And I went to Eliza and I was like, are there more of this? And she's like, oh, yeah, there's like a whole thing. Like Star Wars is a whole thing. And the reason I didn't know about this is because my mum hates Star Wars. And so she always watched Star Trek. She did not like Mark Hamill at all. Like she hated him.
Hair was too long?
Yeah, I think she was like everybody, because she grew up at the same age sort of ish as Mark Hamill. And she didn't like how everybody thought he was a heartthrob because he was in Star Wars, but he wasn't actually that good looking. And so that was Mum's thing. Mum was like, he's not that good looking, and everybody says that
Why
he
isn't he sexy like William Shatner?
No, but like it was more of the case of everybody said he was so good looking and he really wasn't, sort of thing like that. And he was fine.
I mean, like no criticism.
But Mum thought he was.
No criticism of Star Trek, but like.
And Mum just couldn't.
Like your mum was like, I'd rather be bored in space.
Mum, see, this is the thing. Mum has always had, when it comes to fantasy sci-fi things, Mum has always really struggled with things where there's like lots of names for characters and lots of different types of like places and planets and names for things. And so when it was like Harry Potter, for example, it took her like 50 viewings of Harry Potter to understand, oh, that Snape guy, he's the bad one. And the main character's name is Harry. And, oh, that Dumbledore, And you're like, Dumbledore. And, oh, yes, Dumbledore. And she knows them all now because it's been so many decades.
That sounds like we went and saw Force Awakens with my parents. And at the end, afterwards, we were like, oh, how did everyone think? And Mum was like, I had no idea what's going on. I'm like,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
That would have been my mum.
Like, what do you mean? Like, it's not like it's an abstract concept.
Whereas Star Trek is the same characters. And you just follow those characters as they go through space.
Yeah.
So that's a lot easier to follow.
Sure.
Obviously. So, and I think that was also just more tailored towards Mum's tastes and Mum's age and all that sort of stuff like that. So Mum was always into Star Trek. Not that we ever watched any Star Trek, but if it was on TV, we would have watched it. And any Star Wars that was on, which I don't remember it ever being on, but let's say it was on TV on a night free to air, the TV would have been turned off. Yeah. It would have been like, we're not watching this, we'll change the channel or like, something else.
Not wars, just trekking.
Well, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of content. Like when you get into A New Hope, the first thing you have to do is read like 4 fucking paragraphs. Okay? That's the start of the fucking movie. Reading a whole bunch of text. You ain't got time for that. And then it jumps you, because this is the thing, because it's episode 4. You're jumping straight into the middle of the things. Yeah, but it wasn't. I don't think Mum, but it was still called episode 4.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it? I feel like it was.
Episode 4 was a thing later on.
Okay.
Because it was never even called A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars.
Okay.
And
well,
then, like,
later.
Yeah,
well,
later
I mean,
on.
like, anyway. I think the other thing is that you are jumping straight into a middle of the story. You were just expected to keep up with the exposition. And like I said, Mum struggles with that sort of thing. And so she would have switched off really quickly. And I just remember watching it. And it was really early in A New Hope where Leia is literally like doing the hologram for R2-D2. Like that's how early it is. And I was just like, this is amazing. I love this so much.
Before the stormtrooper hit his head. Have you seen that? It's in New Hope.
Yeah. Like, I told you, I was watching it on a crappy VHS tape. I wouldn't have noticed the bloopers, James.
Oh, no, I'm just asking you, like, if you know that at all. Like
I knew that. Yeah.
I wasn't saying to, like, grade 16. I'd be like,
Year 7.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Eliza, and she was like, oh, yeah, I've got the other ones if you want to watch them. And so I borrowed, Empire Strikes Back. And I was like, right. This is better. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And I still vehemently believe to this day, as do a lot of people, that Empire Strikes Back is the best one by far. It's just the way that the story is comprised, the action that happens in it, obviously the twist. Who would have thought that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's dad? As they quote in The Simpsons. Like, it's really, like, almost a perfect film, I think. And I can understand why people would struggle. Like, people like my mum would struggle because, especially when it comes to Empire Strikes Back, it's you don't have a whole bunch of story leading up to knowing who Darth Vader is and how he came about and blah, 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 blah. So when you do watch it from the first one, from Phantom Menace, by the time you get to Empire Strikes Back, you're like, oh my God. And now it's revealing that after all this time, Darth Vader's actually Luke Skywalker's dad, then it would obviously be a bigger reveal. So I can also understand how my mum would have been like, well, that's a shit twist, because then we only just found about these characters in the last movie. But I still think it's fantastic. Such a good movie. What would be your favourite scenes?
In Empire?
Because I know you love it.
I haven't watched it in a while, and I haven't seen the original series anywhere near as many times as the middle series. Like, the prequels are my movies. Like, because that's the era I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I've seen the new trilogy. I've seen Force Awakens a handful of times, but I've only seen Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker 1 stage. But I don't know what my favorite scene. I guess like Luke lifting the X-wing out of the swamp. Is that Empire?
Yeah, because it's got Yoda.
Yeah.
So you got all the Yoda stuff.
That's the thing.
Like,
yeah. Oh, this version of Yoda.
He's brilliant.
Is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like he's lost his marbles.
He gives 0 fucks.
And like that's something I always think is interesting. Like, people always talk about like how integral Yoda is to the Star Wars films.
Yeah. But
like before that prequel trilogy, he was in one movie.
Yeah. That's right.
So I like that. I like well, the opening on Hoth.
Yeah.
Is really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That's really great.
You got all Sky City and everything.
Yeah, Cloud City.
Cloud City, sorry, yeah.
I don't mind all that stuff. Like the end, I think when like Han gets frozen in carbonite, obviously very cool and like interesting. And when Luke has the visions of like Vader and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so there's some pretty cool, and like it's been a while. Like it's probably been close to a decade since I've seen Empire. So it's been quite a while. So I'm just trying
to watch it again.
Do back to back with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. We'll do a Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Marathon.
Yeah.
But just those 2 movies.
Just those 2 films. But yeah, there's plenty to like in there. But yeah, those would probably be some of my favourite moments.
I think essentially it boils down to I loved Yoda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what it essentially boils down to. I just loved Yoda. But that fight scene, that lightsaber fight scene between Vader and Luke before it's revealed, that's a fantastic lightsaber scene as well. That's just brilliant. And all the AT-ATs, the AT-ATs on Hoth, like that's all like stop motion.
Yeah, miniatures
and stuff like that. And like, that's so cool. Like the scale of it is so enormous. It's just brilliant. So I'm really like just in awe. And then that's the thing, because like you said, that was us growing up was the first
the prequel series.
The prequel series. And so literally like I was in year 7 and I'd watched these originals, and then like Clone Wars came out and it was all Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman. And I was like, oh my God, there's a love story now. It was like my teenage
You didn't
heart.
like the Luke and Leia love story in the first movie?
No.
He accidentally kissed his sister?
No, definitely not. And like that's the thing. I so badly at the time wanted to believe that Hayden Christensen was a good actor. And he was a good actor, but he was not in that film. It gets everywhere.
I don't think so. It's less to do with his performance and more to do with some of that stilted dialogue.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, because he's back. Like I haven't watched Obi-Wan yet, but like he's one of the leads in it. And from all accounts, he's meant to be quite good in it.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying he's a good actor.
Yeah,
but he wasn't in that film.
But that's the other thing. Like George Lucas did all of those films. He only made one in the original trilogy. The other 2 were other directors. It's so funny that you like the love story. I was like, oh, I like those movies, but not because of the love story.
No, but I was a year 7, year 8 girl.
Yeah, no, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I was exposed to this series that I thought was really cool, and then all of a sudden there's a new one that has a hot guy and this whole like love interest thing, and you're like, oh my God, I wish it could be Natalie Portman wearing these beautiful costumes.
My favorite love story in that series is obviously C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah.
That's the best love story. That is a solid choice.
Yeah, solid choice. All right, so my number 2, obviously, we've spoken about it like a billion times. It's Back to the Future number 2.
Back to the Future number 2.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Back to the Future number 2. So, I mean, do I have to go over it in so much detail?
It's up to you.
It obviously, like, epitomizes the 80s really well.
I'll give you that. Like, I know that like there's been some we've had some back and
contention.
Forth. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like friendly jibing. I don't know, like I don't know why I said jibing, jobin. Obviously, I prefer the first one. To me, that's a perfect film. But the second one, I can't deny. Like, that is an 80s film. Like everything that like you think of when you think of the phrase the 80s, like Back to the Future Part 2 screams, like from the holographic hat to the weird, like, suction springy jacket.
Yeah, to the soundtrack of, like, you know, Huey Lewis and the News.
Well, that was in the first one as well.
No, I know, but it, you know, even more so.
The Jaws 3D, like, popping out.
Yeah.
The hoverboard, like the self-lacing sneakers. What's the Pepsi again? Pepsi Perfect?
Pepsi Free?
Something like that.
Or something?
Yeah,
No.
like, that's... I think that's what I mean, but remember when before I was like, the 80s, like, there's an element of danger, because, like, that film, like, whilst very fun and colourful, also feels very gross and seedy and dangerous as well. Like,
do you mean when Biff then creates this alternate?
Yeah, like, when you go to the McFly's house, and it's like, oh, like, not everything's quite right, and then you go to, like, Trump Tower, or whatever, like, it's called, Biff's Casino, like, there's that excess you're talking about, but also kind of like, oh, it feels gross, like, so there's...
But that's also the point as well.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
But I think the other thing is that, I think maybe, now this is me being very analytical and critical thinking, but maybe it's like an allegory for, like, what the 80s thought it was and how the 80s actually was. So maybe the 80s thought it was, like, the fluorescent, everybody's wearing leg warmers, even though it's futuristic, everybody's skinny, everybody's hot, everybody's, like, having a great time in the sun type of thing. But what the 80s really was like money grubbing and power and climbing up the ladder, because if you don't, then you're a nobody and you're not successful. So... maybe that's actually an allegory for that.
Could be. I also think that in the 80s, they just love dystopia. Like, let's
they do.
Like I mean, and I'm not, like, obviously they've been doing it forever. Like, it's not just theirs. But I feel like especially in the 80s.
Well, this is the thing, because remember, movies are a reflection of their time, and horror movies are a reflection of what the culture fears at that time. So, you know, 50s movies was all about monster movies and aliens and stuff like that, because they feared, like, invasions and they feared the idea of the other. Whereas, like, 80s movies and stuff like that is all, like, got to do with power and sex and money, because those are the things that people, A, desire, and B, are scared of losing.
Yeah.
Because you do have, like, the 80s is where that song of "I want my money, that's what I want" comes from. And it's that whole Wall Street fighting tooth and nail, clawing your way up to the top, slitting the throats of the people beneath you so that you can be number one. It's all about number one.
Yeah.
So maybe those movies do reflect that.
Definitely an interesting thought.
All right, so that's my number 2. Now my number 1 is just some good fun. Obviously,
Am I going to... Should I guess?
you can guess if you want to guess.
I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been waiting for this film to get mentioned a lot, and we're getting towards the end, and I'm pretty certain Maddie's not going to mention it on the next episode.
Yeah.
Is it Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Of course it's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course it is. Man, that movie is so good. So I don't know if I told the dickweed story yet?
Yeah, you haven't.
On this podcast.
No, you haven't.
Okay, not on this podcast. So I remember watching this movie because obviously I love Keanu Reeves, right? And I'd watched this movie before I knew who Keanu Reeves was and before I fell in love with Keanu Reeves. Because I fell in love with Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. And then I was like, oh, he's been in all of these things as well. But when I was a lot younger, before Matrix came out, I remember we were at home, we were in the lounge room, and my brother's friend was over as well. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was playing on TV, free to air, again, because that's how we watched movies. And it was getting close, like, to my bedtime and all this kind of stuff like that. And I was in the kitchen, and Mum was, like, sitting on the couch, and the part where Bill and Ted... The part where they've gone back to like medieval times, and Bill and Ted are in the armor sort of thing like that, and they're having like their little sword fight and all this kind of stuff like that, and then Ted gets knocked down the stairs, and the knight comes and like stabs him, sort of thing like that, and then Bill comes rushing down. He goes, "You killed Ted, you medieval dickweed!" And I went, "Ha, dickweed," because I'd never heard that word before. I didn't know what it meant. I'd never heard the word before. I just thought it sounded like a funny word, dickweed. And Mum goes, "Don't you ever say that word again, Tina!" I was like, "What? I just like, what's wrong with that word? I don't know what that word is." And I just that sticks out as a memory of mine. And so I think for a long time, I wasn't allowed to watch Bill and Ted's after that because of the inappropriate language and all this kind of stuff like that.
Like, we can't. She's a sponge. We can't let her watch yet another film you're getting to stay till the end for. Yeah. That's like, go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it wasn't until like after my love for Keanu Reeves that I was like, I remember bits and pieces of this movie. I'm gonna like buy. I think it was the VHS. Probably it was probably the VHS. And I'm going to, like, watch it because I love Keanu Reeves. And I was like, this movie is bloody awesome. Like, his whole dumb shtick is so well done. Like, and him and Alex Winters. Is it Winters or Winter?
I think it's Winter.
Winter. They're so good off each other. They play so well off each other. And it's just so much fun. It is creepy how Ted wants to do Bill's stepmom and all this kind of stuff like that, and like there's dad and the mum. Is it mum or I think it's stepmom.
I haven't watched it in a long time. So.
I haven't watched it in a long time as well. Basically gonna do it in Bill's room, like when Bill and Ted leave. And it's just like, it's silly and it's fun and it's upbeat and it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's really interesting the way that they get all like the characters and how they go back through time, and then they have that classic montage at the mall. So you've got, again, at the mall, because it's the 80s. So you have, Mozart trying on like clothes and like Genghis Khan decapitating the heads of mannequins and all this kind of stuff like that, and it's just a great romp. I haven't seen all of number 2. I think I've seen like bits and pieces of number 2, but I didn't like it.
I haven't seen Bogus Journey. I've seen Excellent Adventure, and I've seen the most recent one, which I quite enjoyed. I know that one was received with mixed reviews.
I really liked that one.
But I think because it was in the middle of the pandemic, I was just like, this is exactly the movie I need right now.
Yeah.
And I like the daughters and stuff. But yeah, it's solid. It's also got George Carlin as Rufus, who I was a big fan of his stand-up comedy, and also just his role in Dogma and some other Kevin Smith stuff as well. Jersey Girl in particular. George Carlin in Jersey Girl is brilliant. But so good in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And it's so funny, you're like, there's that weird thing where he's, like, into his mum, whatever. I'm like, you just listen to Back to the Future where he also, like, he's into his mum.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, it's just another 80s trope. Like, we can add teenage pregnancy, we can also add falling in love with your own mother.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a solid list. And another one that no one has mentioned, as I said, I keep waiting for it to come up. I've been, like, pushing for it and prodding for it, like, with some of the questions. I was like, maybe... something from Bill and Ted? Nothing. No one's been talking about it. So finally, Bill and Ted have got their due. Excellent. That is a solid list.
Yeah. Well, I do have some honourable mentions as well. So these ones were hard to sort of place because these are ones that I really did enjoy. Some of them I've only seen once in my life.
Yeah.
And that was when I was a lot younger. But I was like, every time I think of 80s movies, I'm reverted back to these memories.
Yep.
So that's why I've kept them on my honourable mentions lists. Because I'm like, even though I might have only seen it once, or even though I might not remember a whole bunch of it, it still sort of sticks out in my memory as like, that is an important part of my childhood.
Sure.
So Land Before Time. I don't know which ones are set in the 80s, but definitely like...
I thought it was a 90s one, but...
I thought Land Before Time was 80s.
You're right, 1988.
Yeah. And obviously it is like the most harrowing and depressing kids series you're ever going to see. When Littlefoot's like parents die.
It's like raining and stuff.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once.
Oh.
Yeah, kids' films in the 80s and 90s were no joke. Like,
No.
I know that like Disney cops it for like killing family members all the time, but like 80s and 90s flicks, like, yeah, like, oh my goodness, it's really prevalent there.
And we didn't own any Land Before Time, so I only ever watched it on TV, and sometimes we would borrow it from Blockbuster. I think a couple of times we borrowed it from Blockbuster. And I could never keep track because obviously, like, it's sequential. So, like, you know, Land Before Time 47 or whatever it is, because there's so many of them.
I mean, you might not
like,
be far
really
off.
takes... They all happen linearly. And so sometimes you'd be watching it and you'd be like, oh, you'd be in the middle of... You'd turn the TV on, it's the middle of the movie, and it's the middle of, like, the 8th one or something. And you're like, what happened before all of this? But still, it's like, it's so beautifully animated.
14,
there you go. I knew there was heaps. So gorgeously animated. And it's just like, it's just so sad. Because it's just these little baby dinosaurs trying to find... like a new home to live in. And that was the thing, because that was at the same time I was watching like Animals of Farthing Wood, which was the same concept. A lot of TV shows around that time were about abandoned animals that were finding new places to live.
Well,
which is really upsetting.
It's the director of it was directed by Don Bluth, who is a real staple in animation, especially in that time. Like, when you were talking about it before, I was like, oh, that was around the same time as like All Dogs Go to Heaven, and Secret of Nim and Anastasia. He did all of those films. Yeah, and he was kind of stepped in after Walt Disney passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a huge body of work, and yeah, really focused on just making people
Kids
cry. Yeah,
and I would remember sitting in the living room watching it and just cry, tears streaming down my face. Because you also know all of those characters are going to die. Because they're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They're just going to... The comet's coming to kill them all. But still, beautiful movies. Obviously, RoboCop. Fantastic. Even though, again, I've only seen it once. And I only saw it, like, that one time with you.
Yeah, back to back with Raiders and Empire Strikes Back. Let's go. Yeah,
those three. Because we had an entire episode on rewriting it, Coming to America.
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
Yeah, that was a different podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But still, like, it was... my throat's starting to hurt from all the talking. I'm not going to be able to talk for too much longer. So, yeah, Coming to America is just really funny. I remember watching it when I was younger, again on TV, and then you hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And so I was saying to you, we should watch this. And so then when I rewatched it with you, I was like, oh, yeah, this is really good. Now, these two movies I actually always get confused with. And I know one of them is 80s, but I don't know if the other one is. So I'll need you to look it up. Field of Dreams and A League of Their Own.
Field of Dreams is 89. I think League of Their Own might be the 90s.
Oh, okay.
It is. It's 1992.
Oh, okay. So I more lean toward The League of Their Own, so we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
But Field of Dreams is the one where they're ghosts.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a real crier as well. And apparently, like, if you've got a dad, if you're a boy with a dad, like, it'll destroy you. So.
Yeah. And then my last one, this is the problem. It's a Robert Downey Jr. film. I can't remember.
Heart and Souls.
Heart and Souls, yes. Is that 80s?
I feel like it's 90s, but I'll have a look for you.
I feel like you're right. I feel like it is 90s.
93, yeah.
93, okay. I remember I won't talk about it too much then, but I do remember watching that. And, like...
Isn't it funny how you're just like, I know it's Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, I know where she's going with this.
Yeah. Because I mention it all the time.
You've mentioned a couple times. I've never seen it, but I was just like...
It's really good. You would really like it.
Did they use the Huey Lewis in the new song Heart and Soul?
How does that one go again?
It's called Heart and Soul. It's like one of the lesser known hits.
I can't remember. But I remember last time I watched it, I was probably 9.
Power of Love.
Yeah. But it's really, really good. It's about, like, all these characters on a bus, and they're all ghosts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ghost
and Robert
tourists.
Downey Jr., like, helps them pass over,
Yeah.
basically, to the other side. Or at least I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. I might be getting confused with Field of Dreams. Pretty sure that's what it's about. Heart and Souls.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So those are all of my honourable... I mean, like, I could go on.
I noticed you didn't mention City Slickers.
No, what a disappointment.
I actually don't know if that's 80s or 90s, but yeah.
I think that's 90s.
That was one that you were like, oh, it's really good.
Three Amigos is 80s.
91 is City Slickers. What about Three Men and a Baby? Is that 80s?
Oh, that's 80s. I remember that one.
That's a great flick.
That is a great flick.
Oh, they're remaking it with Zac Efron.
Oh, are they? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Three Men and a Baby is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Good stuff. It's got Ted Danson, Tom Selleck, and the Goot, Steve Guttenberg. Good stuff. Great. That is a solid list, and I like your honourable mentions as well for the ones that I have seen. Which means all we have left to do is the rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
And if you survive, I'll let you leave the show.
Thanks.
I've never had to kill anyone yet. So.
I need to leave the show because I need a glass of water. My throat hurts.
No worries. Well, we'll it's rappers, so depending on your answers. First question.
Yep.
Which movie to you defines the 80s? Which is that definitive 80s films where you look at that film like that is the 80s?
Back to the Future 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a good answer.
The correct answer.
That is correct. That's a 90s film. Which 80s movie has either the best theme song or the best soundtrack or both?
Ooh, okay. So, it's either got to be Raiders of the Lost Ark, because
The score then, yep.
Yeah. Or, Star Wars.
Empire Strikes Back?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, nice one.
I know I'm just doing movies off my list.
That's okay.
But in all honesty, like...
I feel like I need to hurry up and finish.
No. In all honesty, like, I think that's pretty hard to contend against.
Yeah, I actually went for score and not for, like, a song with lyrics and stuff. But
well, like, I mean, then again, Back to the Future again. I don't want to answer Back to the
Yeah.
Future 2 for every single thing.
Did they use any popular 80s songs?
Well, Huey Lewis in the News and stuff.
That's in the first one. Is it in the second one?
You said it was, just before.
No.
Yes, you did. Listen to the recording back and you said it before.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, cool. Raiders.
Yeah.
Excellent. Which actor or actress, or both, best defines the 80s? Who's the face of the 80s to you?
So we've talked about this in your one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it still is the same. Although I will also add this other actor as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's still Tom Cruise.
Yes, I agree.
But I would also throw Charlie Sheen in there.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Really good call. He was all over it. Navy SEALs.
Yeah. Major League.
Was he in Major League?
Yeah, wasn't he?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Hot Shots, Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
Platoon. He's in a bunch of stuff. Charlie Sheen's a good call.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen's in Major League.
I've never seen it, so
I've never seen it either.
I don't watch a lot of sports movies.
But I remember from Goldbergs.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I remember it. But so I would say Tom Cruise and Charlie Sheen. I would say they're the faces that epitomized The 80s.
That's a good call, Charlie Sheen. No one's mentioned him yet. Good one. Alrighty. Best 80s vehicle or mode of transport?
Ooh. I'm not going to go with DeLorean because DeLorean is easy.
And everyone has said it.
And everyone said it. So you know what? Actually, even though it's a bit shaky and shoddy and not the best well-made thing, because it takes you back in time, I'm saying Bill and Ted's phone box.
That's literally why I wrote this question. So I was like, someone's going to mention that phone box. I'm talking until now, but someone's mentioned that phone box.
I did it!
Like, it's like literally on every time I'm like, it might be the DeLorean, maybe it's Bill and Ted's phone box.
and everybody's like, no.
And people are like, Ghostbusters car. I'm like, it's just a hearse. Like, it looks cool, but it doesn't do anything.
Ghostbusters car does a lot. The little seat that comes out.
In the new one.
In the new one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ghostbusters. Look, I mean, I'm not having to go to the Ghostbusters car. It's cool, but it's just...
But also, the Bill and Ted's one comes with the phone book. So if you anywhere you want to go, you just open up the phone book. There it is.
Also,
beep, 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 boop.
You can't get phone books anymore either. So also a collector's item.
Yeah.
Last question, which is also a multi-layered question.
Mm-hmm.
Last time you were on the show, we talked about your favourite films. I asked you which film should we never ever remake. This time around, I want to know which film from the 80s should we remake?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Because some of them they already have.
Well, remember when you interviewed me, I was in the same dilemma. And you're like, well, maybe you want to remake it again. I was like, well, good, then let's fix RoboCop and remake from the remake.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can do that. Or maybe
That's
you're just
true.
like, hey, there's a film that's really good, but modern audiences, like kids these days, aren't going to watch it. So I need to up the ante.
Yeah. Thinking of films off my list, I probably wouldn't remake any of them. Like, I wouldn't remake Stand By Me. You don't need to remake Star Wars because all the new Star Wars movies are coming out. I wouldn't... There's already been a remake of Bill and Ted's, basically, a sequel.
Mm-hmm. And last time you're like, you never remake Back to the Future.
No, never remake Back to the Future.
So it would have been,
It's
interesting
sacred.
to see you flip-flop that way.
Oh, no. No, I would never flip on that. Take that to my grave. Oh, that's a really hard one. I feel like it would be like one of those kind of comedies like Tootsie or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Oh, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would be good if they remade that. Then you could do it with like all these like futuristic, more modern references and stuff like that. And the CGI would be really cool and really authentic looking. It wouldn't look like really bad or anything because now we have the technology to make it look really good.
Okay.
So something like that.
Are you going with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Well, like, you could also do like a Look Who's Talking, and it could be funny with it like being a different, more, different dynamic with different kinds of, now that the parenting style of children has changed, and so maybe like you have different parents, like a helicopter parent, or like not heteronormative parents and stuff like that. I'd probably go with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids though.
Okay. So, I don't need you to cast the kids because we're going to go unknowns, most likely.
Yeah.
But, although actually I do have one idea for one of the kids.
Yeah.
But, who's playing the Rick Moranis role? Who's playing the crazy inventor dad?
You know who it is? Fred Armisen.
Oh, interesting you went SNL, because I was going to say Bill Hader, but I like Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen because he looks like him. I would say Fred Armisen. Who would be the mum? Even though I don't like her, the first thing that comes to my head is Sarah Silverman.
Interesting. I can't remember the mum very well. I haven't seen her in quite a while. Was she... What was
I don't really remember. I'm just thinking of the dynamic between the two.
Funny, because I was like... Because, again, I just went SNL, I'm like, oh, well, Kristen Wiig. Like...
Yeah, you could do Kristen Wiig as well. Actually, Kristen Wiig would be good too.
Or even like an Amy Poehler. SNL...
You could make like an SNL version of the show.
But
of the movie.
Fred Armisen's a good pick. I like that. My go-to was Bill Hader, but I would say Bill Hader is more obvious. Like you're like, oh, of course, because he's the modern kind of nerdy kind of like, hey guy, like. But going for Fred Armisen, I think is funnier.
Yeah, I'd go with Fred Armisen, and he could be like the grandson of the Rick Moranis character. That's why they look similar.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I mean, Fred Armisen
still is an event or son. Could be the son.
I was gonna say, I was like, there's only about 20 years between them, if that. So yeah,
that's right. It'd be like the son or something like that, and like he's an inventor. Yeah, he's like a. I can't even remember how Honey I Shrunk the Kids went.
He was an inventor. He was like inventing
He was
stuff.
an inventor. Yeah.
And then I say you cast all like unknowns for your kids, but if you want to strengthen your cast, you get the little girl from Ghostbusters, who was also I, Tonya, who played Egon's granddaughter. Because she's just great in everything.
She is great. You'd cast her. You'd cast the Dustin from Stranger Things.
Oh, I like that casting.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to cast knowns.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
You'd cast, and you need 3 kids, don't you?
Don't you? Was there like a... And again, I haven't seen it in a while, so was there like a hot babysitter character as well?
I don't remember.
And she got shrunk? I feel like there was.
Was there? Because there was more than one movie.
Oh yeah, there's a few. There's Honey I Shrunk the
again.
Kids, Honey I Shrunk Ourselves, and Honey I Blew Up the Kid.
Oh.
I don't even know if Rick Moranis was in that third one. Oh no, Honey I Blew Up the Kid was the sequel. Interesting. Oh, there's quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought there was quite a few.
There was a TV show. But it wasn't Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Oh, and the TV show had 67 episodes. Jeez.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I feel like there was like a babysitter character. I feel like that's what my gut's telling me.
I don't know enough child actors to sort of go who the third person would be. But you definitely want the girl that you mentioned and Dustin from Stranger Things.
Was this also the movie where like the kid needed potassium and he had to have a banana?
Oh, I can't remember.
I feel like that because ever since then I've always that's what taught me the bananas had potassium in them.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, I like your remake. I think that's a good one. I actually, and now that you've locked that in, I actually think you could remake Stand By Me. I think Stand By Me was one of those few films you could remake. But I like your choice. I like Fred Armisen. I like Dustin from Stranger Things. I think it's a good call. Tina, you have survived yet another. I don't know why I say survive. Like it's a perilous conversation. Yeah. But you have survived. You made it to the end. Any final thoughts on your 80s list before we wrap up and get this DeLorean out of here?
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit predictable.
I feel like
I haven't seen enough 80s movies to make a more nuanced list. I love all the movies on the list. But it's like, oh, whoop-de-doo, a Star Wars movie, Indiana Jones movie, Back to the Future. Who would have guessed?
I think, like, with the 80s, though, because, first of all, there were less films back then than there are now.
Oh, really? I think there was...
No, there's way
not
more now.
Less than there are now, but the 80s was, like, heaps of blockbusters.
Yeah, but because of that, like, everyone's seen the same movies. Like, there wasn't, like, independent cinema back then. There wasn't, like, direct-to-streaming or even that much direct-to-video at that point because video was still relatively new,
yeah.
Like, Indiana Jones has come up on most people's list. Star Wars has come up on most people's list. Beetlejuice, I said, came up like 4 or 5 times. Dirty Dancing has come up half a dozen times. Back to the Future has come up a bunch of times. Like,
okay, so I don't feel so bad of saying the same sort of things.
Like, not not trying to prop myself up, but I probably had the most kind of like obscure list. But I deliberately was trying to like find one. I didn't want to. I was like, well, yeah, I could just do every Star Wars film and Indiana Jones film, but everyone's going to do that. But there's something. But you threw in Stand By Me, which no one has said, and no one said Bill and Ted. And I think that of those films, Bill and Ted probably is a little bit more of a obscure choice. Like people are always going to go towards like.
I feel like Bill and Ted's like is the poor man's Back to the Future too. Like it's such a good movie, but because it was outshone by something like because it's a time travel movie, Back to the Future is obviously a time travel movie, and so I think like people forget that Bill and Ted's is there because Back to the Future is there. But like it's a really good film.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
great.
want to watch it again.
Nice one. Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Tina will be back soon because actually the next time you come on, we're going to be talking about spooky movies because Halloween. I've been teasing Halloween for a month now, maybe longer, but we're just about to enter September, so Halloween's not that far away. And then, of course, my time machine will take us to the 90s.
Yep.
Probably. Maybe we'll go further. I haven't decided yet. Maybe we'll go back and go to classics. Until then, please follow along on Instagram. I was a teenage film snob with underscores between every word because Instagram's kind of mean. But we just crossed 100 followers, which I'm very excited and thankful for. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor FM. And that's pretty much it. So as I say every week, look guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.